I want to teach you some descriptive collocations that you can use for everyday conversation. Now, collocations are incredibly helpful when building your vocabulary because these are words that are often used together. So you will hear them in everyday conversation. And if you are someone who enjoys building your vocabulary, please subscribe, turn on notifications. That way I can become your teacher. In case this is your first time here, my name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It's all about trying to help you reach your fluency goals. And if you would like to access these lesson notes, click on the link down below in the description. Join our email community and you can access them. You can review these collocations. If you're already a part of our community, check your inbox. I have sent them to you. So when I do these lessons, as many of you know, I like to make them a quiz lesson so that you can participate, answer questions. This is, after all, interactive English. So I'm giving you a sentence, and I've bolded and italicized the collocation. To begin with, I'll make it a little easier. I'm giving you the first letter of the missing word. So it has become difficult to work for him. In this case, the missing word begins with the letter I. Now that is the collocation, become. These are words that are frequently used together. I'll give you a moment to answer. Think of an answer. You can write your answer in the chat, even if you're watching this later. So the missing word in there, and with some of these, I'll be honest, there may be more than one word that you could use. So I'm seeing words like incredible. The collocation that I'm going for is increasingly. Something is becoming increasingly difficult. You could even think of that as a collocation as well. When you say something is becoming increasingly difficult to do something else. In this case, it has become increasingly difficult to work for him. Now, to follow up on what some people have said, I've seen answers like it has become immensely difficult to work with him. That would work. It's become incredibly difficult to work with him. That would also work. So with some of these, I don't want to say there is a wrong answer, but there is a specific collocation that I am trying to highlight in this case, saying something has become increasingly difficult. Now, the one thing I will say is that you would follow this with an adverb, one of those ly words. So the next one, again, this is great. Well, to give you a little more context with this one, I have some news headlines that I want to share with you. It says, vacant homes become increasingly scarce in Switzerland. U.S. dollar has become increasingly toxic and weaponized from a Russian economist. And then the last one, the big read, it's become increasingly difficult to smoke outdoors, but some way yet before Singapore is smoke-free. I guess Singapore wants to be smoke-free, which means that, it's becoming increasingly difficult for anyone who wishes to smoke. But this is a useful collocation. How about this one? When he came home, I caught or got a of alcohol on his breath. Which word is missing? And I don't know, you may recognize that incredibly handsome person in the picture, but the word that's missing, it's going to begin with the letter W, and hopefully because of that, it'll narrow down your options. So I'm giving you the verbs caught or got. Remember, those are in the past tense, but with this phrase, you could use either one. Both of them are collocations. And I see some excellent answers. Great job, Talal, Joanne, Rafaela, Julia. We're talking about whiff. When he came home, I caught a whiff of alcohol on his breath, or I got a whiff of alcohol on his breath. So a whiff is another word for like a smell, a scent. And you can catch a whiff of something, or you get a whiff of something. And in case you're familiar, I said incredibly handsome drunk young man. I don't know if I was too drunk in this picture when this was taken. That is me. That's from about 15 years ago. So though my party days are long gone at this point. I'm a family man. So the next one, well, I wanted to share this other thing with you because I just thought it's funny. So this is a meme when thinking about using that word whiff, in case the word whiff is new. So this dog, if nice balls, bro, can I get a whiff? Thinking about dogs will come up, and especially they'll sniff your crotch. And I just thought this was funny, the way that the picture was taken with this dog's long nose. Can I get a whiff? Right? And just trying to smell someone's crotch. So remember that collocation, to get a whiff or to catch a whiff. Either verb it works. How about this one? I think you'll know it. I want to see a lot of answers in that chat because I feel like this one's a little more common, probably a little easier. Despite recent challenges, the company is not planning to change its business. There is a noun that's missing. It begins with the letter M, and that is the collocation, business. Which word is going to complete this sentence? And I feel like this is, well, I say all of them are common. They are common. Some are a little more difficult or advanced than others. I think this is definitely a common phrase when talking about business, starting a company, entrepreneurship. Despite recent challenges, the company is not planning to change its business model. That is the missing word. Talking about a business model, the way that a company is running or it plans to run, how it's going to operate. Well done, Lali, Rafaela. Good to see the both of you. To me, Manuel, perfect. Again, I'll try to give some shout outs as we go through this. But how about the next one? Because you guys are rocking this. And if you are learning some new words and phrases, you can let me know by hitting that like button, or even right now hitting the heart button or whatever. I like seeing them. I just like seeing them fly up and down in the chat. The only way to your influence on the upcoming election is to go out and vote. This is true. This is my plug to encourage people to go vote. I'm from the United States. There is an election coming up very soon, early November, and I think everybody should vote, should participate. And this is my sentence. The only way to your influence on the upcoming election is to go out and vote. There is a missing word that you may use with influence. It begins with the letter E. I have not seen the correct answer yet. Now there may be a couple of options. I'm trying to remember. There's one specifically that I'm looking for. But when talking about trying to influence someone or something, which verb are you going to use that begins with the letter E? I have not seen the correct answer. That's okay. So hopefully maybe this phrase might be new for some of you. The word that I was looking for was to exert. To exert your influence is basically to do something, to have some influence on the outcome, and you are going to exert your influence on something. In this case, you're going to exert your influence on the upcoming election. Or I plan to exert my influence, and I am going to vote. If you're in the U.S., you're a U.S. citizen, I hope that you go out and vote and you exert your influence over the upcoming election. The one thing I wanted to point out with this one, now I remember, is talking about that preposition at the end, because you might hear people say to exert your influence on something or to exert your influence over. Either one of them works, but to point out a quick resource that you can use whenever you have some of these phrases and you want to know, and at least get an idea, which one is more commonly used. Ngram Viewer is a great resource. I put the two phrases in there, exert influence over versus exert influence on. In this case, it puts it on a graph, you get a quick snapshot, and you can see that it's a little more common for people to use exert influence on. But I know prepositions can be a little tricky. This is when people make very slight speaking mistakes. But if we're talking about exerting your influence, you can exert influence on something or exert influence over something. I don't want you to interrupt the meeting unless it is necessary. There is a word that's missing that begins with the letter A, and I think that this is a phrase, a collocation that you have certainly heard before. If you watch TV shows or movies in English, if you listen to podcasts in English, this is a phrase that is often used with the noun necessary. I don't want you to interrupt the meeting unless it is necessary. I've given you the letter A, and I think that probably makes it a little easier to identify the adverb. And that is another hint because I see a lot of great answers in there. We're talking about the phrase absolutely necessary. Unless it is absolutely necessary, I do not want you to interrupt this meeting. So those are two words that are often used together in many different contexts. If somebody says, oh, do I have to do this? You're like, yes, it is absolutely necessary. You certainly have to do it. It's absolutely necessary. Words that are often used together. It's a very useful collocation. To give you some more context, as well as to inspire you, here are some inspirational quotes that use this phrase. The first one, goals are not only absolutely necessary to motivate us, they are essential to really keep us alive. So keep in mind, we're using that not only. They're not only absolutely necessary to motivate us, but they are essential to keeping us alive. The next one, this is something that I would say to you when it comes to building your vocabulary and improving your English fluency. Practice is absolutely necessary. You are practicing right now with this interactive quiz. You may sit down and listen to me by the hour every day, but if you do not practice, you will not get one step further. It all depends on practice. Practice, practice, practice. In my opinion, in my view, it is absolutely necessary. Just to reinforce that collocation. What do you think about this word this phrase? In some instances, the threat of taking legal action is nothing more than a scare. Which word is missing? It begins with the letter T. In some instances, the threat of taking legal action is nothing more than a scare. So this is a phrase that, again, you will hear from time to time. It's not as commonly used as absolutely necessary, but these words are frequently used together, which is what makes it a collocation. Scare. The missing noun in this case, great job, nice, Joanne, Julia, Reggie, we're talking about a scare tactic. In some instances, the threat of taking legal action is nothing more than a scare tactic. You want to scare someone, you say something to make them afraid and fearful, and you could say that is a scare tactic. To give you a little bit of a joke, to give you a little context with this collocation. If you can't read that, I'll read it for you. It says, the patient is ready for his stress test, doctor. And the doctor is dressing up like the Grim Reaper. And really, essentially, a stress test, this is nothing more than a scare tactic. And that is why it's funny. The doctor is engaging in a scare tactic, pretending like, yes, this person is going to die. And that is the stress test. I want to make it a little more challenging, at least, well, I think. The way that I'm going to do that is because I've taken away the letter, which is more of a hint. So how would you complete this sentence? And I've bolded and italicized the collocation. Our seats were located near the exit. We were able to leave quickly when the show ended. in this case, I'll go ahead and tell you, it's like the person is very happy about this. They're very glad, and they got to leave quickly when the show ended. And this is maybe what they're saying. Oh, our seats were located near the exit. We were able to leave quickly when the show ended. Which word would you often use with located in this context? And this is one that I think you've probably heard before. Whether you recognized that the words are often used together, there is an adverb that is used quite often when talking about something where it's located in a positive way. You're saying, this is great. Our seats were conveniently located. So if you say something is conveniently located, especially in this context that, well, it's really wonderful that this happens to be the situation because there is some other value, there is some other benefit that we're getting from this location. And you would say that something is conveniently located somewhere. Because I appreciate good humor and like to entertain you as well as inform you and educate you when it comes to vocabulary, here is another fun little comic. Again, I'll read it down below in case you're having trouble seeing it. It says, you know what they say, it's location, location, location. As you can see, this charming little one-bedroom is conveniently located right next to the local tennis club. So it's like this one dog is a real estate agent trying to sell this doghouse to another dog and saying it is conveniently located right next to this tennis club. And there are many tennis balls inside the doghouse, like the dog was able to go get them, retrieve them, bring them back to the doghouse. And it is, conveniently located next to the tennis club. What do you think about this collocation right here? My boss told me that I'd get a raise at the end of the year. I don't know if I believe him. It may just be an promise. There are definitely certain words that you can use with the noun promise, which are collocations. But I feel like in this context, I'm trying to make it a little more specific when somebody's saying, well, I don't know if I believe this person. I don't know if I believe him. It may just be an promise. Another key word in there is the article an, because you see that article, you should know that the next word is going to begin with a vowel sound. And the vowel sound would be in the word empty, an empty promise. Well done, Takayo, Lali, Rafaela, perfect. An empty promise. My boss told me that I'd get a raise at the end of the year. I don't know if I believed him. It may just be an empty promise. Here is a good visual talking about an empty promise, somebody who is lying. They're not going to keep their promise, and they're trying to get someone to do something that maybe they normally wouldn't do. In this case, these people are trying to get that carrot, and they're just falling off the side. And it's a good visual representation of an empty promise. Then we have this collocation right here. I will say that there are two words that you could use to complete this sentence, and I'll talk about them in just a second. The vet performed a successful surgery, and my dog is expected to make a recovery. Which word are you going to use with the word recovery? It is a common collocation, and I told you I think there probably may be more than two in this case. But and I'll talk about the two that I'm thinking of. And you said the vet performed a successful surgery, and my dog is expected to make a recovery. Now that I think about it and see some of your answers, that yes, there are certainly some collocations, different ones that you can use. So one thing I will say, and this is not the answer that I'm thinking of, you could say a fast recovery, sure, a quick recovery. Speedy recovery, I actually like that one, and I feel like it's probably more commonly used. None of those are the answers that I'm thinking of. There are other words that you can use when talking about a recovery, but I feel like speedy recovery is another useful collocation, especially when you emphasize how fast something is. But none of those are the answers that I'm looking for. But this is why I also love these lessons, because you really are trying to get the vocabulary juices flowing and thinking of other words that also work. You know, these are not incorrect. You guys are giving some great responses. I still haven't seen the ones that I'm thinking of. What does that say? So the collocations that I'm thinking of, well, in this case, I was thinking of a full recovery. So especially if it's something a little more serious, and I tried to, convey that when talking about surgery. Surgery is a little more serious. And in that case, my dog is expected to make a full recovery back to 100%. Now, another word that you could use, a full recovery, but also a complete recovery. Either one would be okay. Like I said, you could also use the word speedy or quick. Those are perfectly fine as well if you wanted to emphasize more of how fast it's going to be. But if I wanted to compare those two collocations, a full recovery and complete recovery, as you can see, it's a little more common for someone to use the phrase full recovery. Great answers, great job. How about this next one? It took years to grow a successful business, and we had to many obstacles along the way. The collocation, there is a word that would go with obstacles. You had to many obstacles along the way. There is a specific verb that I think is often used with this noun. And once again, I feel like this is a common one that I think you can probably get just based off of the context. We had to many obstacles. Yes, you guys rocked it. We're talking about to overcome different obstacles or overcome many obstacles. Excellent. Stephanie, great job. Lali, Takayo, Julia, perfect. Let's see. Here are some news headlines. I just want to give you a little more context as to how it's used, even though I think this one is incredibly common. So I'll just read these headlines for you. International Women's Day. Give girls role models to overcome obstacles. The next article, 7 ways to overcome obstacles to using AI in healthcare. And then finally, Blue Zone, I'm not really sure what that is. Collaborations help the denim industry overcome obstacles. So this is another useful collocation. What do you think? I have never spoken in front of such a large audience. I almost said the word there. I'm a wreck. I don't want to give it away. So I'll give you a moment and then I'll tell you. I've never spoken in front of such a large audience. I'm a wreck. In this context, I think this is a common collocation. And hopefully, even though it's not the most common word in the world when you're talking about wreck, hopefully that'll jog your memory and think, oh, okay, I know which adjective I can use, as some of you have correctly pointed out, to say that you are a nervous wreck. Once again, there are other words that you could put in there. If somebody says, oh, I'm a complete wreck, or I'm a total wreck. That also works. That's fine. I do think that probably this collocation is a little more commonly used to say that someone is a nervous wreck. Public speaking, a lot of people have that fear, and if they have to do it, you might say, oh, I'm just a nervous wreck. We should really keep an on the weather in case we need to change our plans. Which word is missing in that phrase? Keep an on the weather. I feel like you know this one. It's a little easier, but that's okay. If it's easy, I think that's good. That means it's more common, more commonly used. And this is when you definitely want to make sure that you know this phrase, you know how to use it, and you're comfortable using it if you're having a conversation. One of the hints in there is that article "an," because then you know that the next word begins with a vowel sound. And just seeing all the responses just roll right in. Excellent. Always love it when you guys are participating. We should really keep an eye on the weather in case we need to change our plans. Perfect. This is another, if you do some Google searches with like keep an eye, as far as like jokes or memes, there are some funny ones with kids. Like parents would say things like, in this case, look, keep an eye on the ball. And they take it literally. And then they have pictures of these kids like literally putting their eye right on the ball. And when you say, look, keep an eye on the ball, as meaning like watch it, just focus on it, look at it, keep an eye on the ball. And then they just take that literally. This happened with my own little girl. I think it was a couple of years ago. I said, look, we need to jump in the shower. And she literally jumped into the shower. I was like, oh, wait, that's a little dangerous. Be careful. And I realized that she took it literally. She thought I wanted her to jump in the shower. So this is a fun way to think about some of these phrases. Here is a little bit of review. All of the different collocations that I went over right here, these are incredibly common, very useful in just casual conversation. My goal with all of these lessons is that I just hope that you learned something new and can go out, try to use these, or even listen for them, because you will definitely hear them. Movies, TV shows, listening to a podcast, they are often used together. If you enjoyed this lesson, you can let me know by hitting the like button. As always, I really appreciate you being here with me today, watching the lesson, participating in the lesson. That's what it's all about. I'm going to keep doing these quiz lessons in order to not just test your vocabulary, but to help you continue building your vocabulary, fine-tuning your vocabulary. Thank you so much, and